Martin Popoff here from the Contrarians. It's a sad day. We've got to pay tribute to one of our fallen heroes here. Ace Frehley died yesterday, October 16th, 2025, at the age of 74. Born April 27th, 1951. My birthday's April 28th, so the day before. And I always like that as well. So yeah, we actually had a Contrarians panel show yesterday, and just off the cuff, spontaneous, I said, "Hey, let's do a tribute show to Ace," and we did, and I'm glad we did because those guys were good. But I wanted to add a few extra things and do something maybe a little more formal, introspective on my own thoughts on Ace. Maybe talking to some radio stations as well today. So. Yeah, so what we know is that he had a fall, and it actually goes back a fair while. And he had a brain bleed from the fall, and he was on life support, and they decided to end that. So yeah, that all happened, unfolded yesterday. And so yeah, so Ace Frehley. So the thing I remember about Ace is that he seemed to always be available for us, for the press, and you would talk to him, and he was unfiltered. Just he was always cheerful in interviews. He's got that classic Ace laugh. He always put you at ease. He didn't mythologize Kiss so much. He would answer your questions patiently on stuff, but he didn't want to make out like everything they did was a godly situation sort of thing. He just showed up, did his thing, and what was his thing? So Ace was raised on all the guitar greats. You think of the British, post-British blues boom guys or British blues boom guys. Your Eric Claptons and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix and Free and all that stuff. Loved his Zeppelin. He tried and loved the look of and a lot of different axes over the years, but we remember him with the Gibson Les Paul Starburst. He was a big proponent of the Les Paul, and he had this really cool lyrical style where he was it was very rhythmic what he did, solo wise, but it was also kind of melodic and songful, phrasing, a lot of neat spaces in it. People remembered his solos. And I can tell you another thing about interviewing a lot of say, big metal stars, hard rock stars of the 80s. So many of them loved Ace and were raised on Ace. You think of the Anthrax guys, you think of Dimebag Darrell. But if I worked on a list of this, I could probably come up with 20 people who mentioned Ace as a main influence. And I've always said this about Kiss in general, that really there's the second most influential band or inspirational band in all of rock after the Beatles. And I'm just going on what people tell me about, just being stung by the heavy metal bee, so to speak. Maybe a destroyer for a lot of people of a certain age, kind of thing, or the Alive album, right? And yeah, you think of Ace. He was always a cool guy in the band. He was always a firecracker, the most rock and rollsy guy in the band, a rock and roller. You think of his smoking guitar and all those stories about him having bad balance and everything. So yeah, and I also remember myself and Tim Henderson got to go down and meet him and hang with him backstage once at the Warehaus. Um, Here in Toronto, and he was gracious at that time as well. Signed our stuff and all that. But yeah, had many interviews with him over the years. He just always seemed to be available. The other thing I wanted to point out here. Well, let me bring this up as well. And I mentioned this in the show, the Contrarians panel tribute to Ace that we did as well. I was working on a book of greatest guitar solos of all time, and I swear I think Hotel California and Comfortably Numb were mentioned almost every time, but off the top of my head, I think the third most mentioned guitar solo as I started to build this huge poll was the Strange Ways guitar solo from Hotter Than Hell. So there's a great tribute to Ace as well there, and I also wanted to mention that. you know, look at some of the things he did with the band. Remind everybody what his credits are in Kiss. So he was there obviously through the whole golden period. He wrote Cold Gin on the first album. He wrote Parasite and Strange Ways on the second album. He co-wrote Coming Home with Paul. What a great melodic, Stonesy sort of song you get there. He was, like I say, he was a very, very traditional sort of player. Um, Dressed to Kill, he wrote Getaway, and he co-wrote Rock Bottom with Paul. He isn't singing anything yet, right? Um, and that's the other thing we like about Ace and we like about Kiss is that they had one of the secret weapons is they had four lead singers in the band, right? So they all had very different voices and different approaches. I would say of the three, Ace was the least technically good lead singer, but he had as interesting a voice as those other guys. All four of those guys had totally interesting voices. So it's great that they all took lead vocals. Destroyer, he co-wrote Flaming Youth on there. Rock and Roll Over, he had nothing on there. Love Gun, Shock Me. So he wrote the heaviest song on Love Gun, the one that everybody it was a favorite. And you had his first lead vocal on that as well. So now we're really identifying even more so with Ace. We're getting a lead vocal out of him. Alive 2, same kind of thing. He co-wrote Rocket Ride with Sean Delaney, and this is his second lead vocal. And Rocket Ride is the absolute hands down highlight on Kiss Alive 2. You know how it's got that studio side of music there. All American Man's really cool on there too with Paul. Um, but Rocket Ride is one of the band's heaviest songs ever. Everybody loved it. I think it's one of the main reasons Alive 2 is remembered so well. On Dynasty, he wrote Hard Times and Save Your Love and sung both of those. And he also sung, a highlight of that record for me, the Stones cover, 2000 Man. And I love his vocal on there. He's kind of got this gruff punk rock kind of style. I've often said he kind of swoops up and down to hit the note and sometimes hits it and sometimes doesn't kind of thing. It's just like this kind of bedheaded, rebellious teenager sort of vocal that he's got. So it added a cool dimension to Kiss there. On Unmasked, he wrote "Talk to Me," Two Sides of the Coin. Is it two, three? Yeah, I can always forget that one. Torpedo Girl, uh, and Ace sings all three on there. So they are loving Ace's vocals. He's a big part of the band singing these songs. Music from the Elder. He wrote "Dark Light." Plus, he's a co-writer on the two instrumentals. They're both kind of short. One's really short. This is his last album until the reunion, and Ace sings "Dark Light," and "Dark Light" totally is a highlight on here as well. We always loved Ace's riffs. There was always a little extra special sauce on them. They were a little more outside of the pop vein that you might get from some of the other Kiss songs. He's not a writer on. And you get up to Psycho Circus, and I think the best song on that album is Into the Void, and Ace is a co-writer on that, and he sings it. And he's a co-singer. They wanted all the singers on. You wanted the best as well. But there you go. Into the Void. Boy, I look at a lot of these songs, and a lot of these songs are key highlights on these albums. And I also appreciated. I wanted to point out that. Of the four solo albums they did in 1978, everybody loves the Ace Frehley album. It's hands down the one that consensus says is the best. We've got "Rip It Out" on there, "Speeding Back to My Baby," "Snowblind," "Ozone," "What's on Your Mind." I mean, these are essentially really good quality Kiss songs, and they're varied a little. "Speeding Back to My Baby" is a little bit something maybe like that Paul would write. Yeah, "Rip It Out." Ace loved when he learned. I think he credits Eddie Kramer for this, but that idea of massaging in acoustic guitars with the regular guitars, he always thought that was a cool thing. I remember talking to him about that. Um, and New York Groove, that's a cover, but and it's very unkiss like. It's literally the kind of song that could have been on Gene's or Peter's album, but it was a hit, right? He had a hit with that. I'm in Need of Love, Wiped Out, Fractured Mirror, instrumental at the end, but Wiped Out. And I'm in need of boy, and this album is just a super high quality Kiss album essentially. And imagine maybe someone will or should AI, or I'm giving this as a suggestion, but I would love to hear Ace's album with some Paul and Gene vocals on it, and hear if this just sounds like an album that I swear would probably be better than Love Gun and Rock and Roll Over. I think it's an excellent record. Um, and then we've got, of course, he had Frehley's Comet as well regarded. They did the live plus one, but the two studio albums, Frehley's Comet and Second Sights, and Trouble Walking. I remember when that came out. There's a big deal, just Ace on the cover there. Of course, no makeup, and he had a bit of a hit on there. Was it the ELO cover on there? Do you? Something was a hit on there. And then later on in life, there's quite a gap there, but he did keep even when Kiss albums slowed down, and we didn't see a lot of Kiss albums. The Kiss guys could have been making more solo music, but they weren't particularly. Neither Gene, Paul, or Peter would even keep up when there was very few Kiss albums with what Ace is doing. So he kept busy. Gave us Anomaly, Space Invader, Spaceman, 10,000 Volts, and those two covers albums, the Origin albums. And yeah, so he was writing up a storm, and staying on the road, doing all that. So he kept participating, and despite all his troubles over the years, and sometimes it might have been the drugs or the booze talking, where maybe he didn't come off so good to the fans or on stage or whatever. Like I say, he was unfiltered and he kept at it, and he was very apologetic for those years as well. I remember in some interviews I did with him, you can tell there was a change in him, and he reflected and he worked on his own personality over the years. So that was good to see. So there you go. I just wanted to expand upon what I got to say very spontaneously, along with the other guys. Thank God those guys were a great panel last night, and they were able to just on the fly. As we were starting, I said, hey, let's make this a tribute to Ace. So we did that, and it might have been a little bit rushed or short, because what happened was we had another show to do right after, and Grant had a hard stop at 8. So we did those two shows, but I just wanted to do the Ace first. So there you go, tribute to Ace Frehley. Sadly gone too soon at the age of 74. October 16th, 2025. Go listen to some Ace.